You guys are amazing! Such an incredible audience. You're participative, you are active, you're vulnerable. That was amazing sharing earlier today. Just so present, so authentic. It's a very high bar with this. So today, in my presentation, we're going to talk about inside the minds of successful, influential, and fulfilled people. And would we all agree it's important to have all three by the raise of hands? All three are important, right? Exactly. I have been traveling all over the world, interviewing those leaders, different countries, different industries, but unites them this desire to live a very full, very purposeful, and very successful life. And today I will show in their words how they say it, so I do not paraphrase. It's going to be a direct experience from them that we're going to be debriefing after each person that I'm going to introduce to you. And I have also been listening to you guys. In the morning with Rebecca, such a powerful story, was sharing your story. She asked the question, what is success? And this is what we said. You said happiness, love, discipline, right? That was my inspiration, listening to you. And we're going to cover all of this and understand why it is important. 3 M's of success. The first M, can you guess? If you have not heard the presentation before, speakers not allowed to help. Anyone can guess, what is the first M? Thank you, ma'am, because you're spot on. Do you have another $2, Scott? I can give to this wonderful lady. She deserves that, okay? Okay, so, and round of applause, thank you. We will do, yes, there's $2. We will give that at the break. So thank you, money. And we were listening to Rebecca sharing how she went from poverty to prosperity, from made to self-made, and such a powerful journey to be who she is today. Now, I was not planning on sharing my personal story, but where is Justin, who was just praising and empowering and setting the tone that, yeah, here we are today, being authentic and vulnerable. So here it goes, in a very brief, short way. When it talks about money, and I have met all kinds of people in my life, very poor people, middle-class people, rich people, and sometimes, especially if you start going to the higher level, people often start saying, money is not so important, you know, purpose is important, this is important, money, it's okay. And my question or my feedback to them, you have never been hungry. That's why you think money is not important. Your children have never been hungry, or your siblings, how Rebecca shared, have never been hungry. And in my case, I have a very personal, direct, sharing wisdom, not knowledge, thank you, sir. Very direct experience in my life. I'm coming from very humble background, just like Rebecca, just different country. Very similar in a sense, but we had nothing, no opportunities, especially for women. And I remember very clearly when I was 12 years old, we literally had nothing to eat. So there was one day when I would come home from school very late, because we had like very late hours when we would study. And I would come home for dinner, and there was this plate of very simple food on the table. And my mom, I was growing up with my mom only, and my mom was sitting at the table, and she just gave me the food and said, come, have your dinner. And I remember turning to my mom and saying, Mommy, are you going to join me? And she said, no, honey, I have eaten already. And she would just sit there in silence as I would eat. Years later, I learned that for about 5 years, she was giving me her dinner because there was no food. And that brings this deep wisdom within, with the realization, the importance of money as the foundation in our society. On a personal level, right? And there was a story about that sometimes as humans, we do whatever it takes to make money. I definitely guilty of that earlier in my life. So we all have stories to share. And at the same time, when we talk about organizations and company in a modern world, if the organization is not making money, it is not successful. It doesn't matter how much good you are doing, it is not sustainable. And I have worked with countless number of social entrepreneurs or non-profits or people who have brilliant ideas and they really want to do amazing things, and they're amazing people. They don't have enough money to execute what you want to execute. It is so important. And then of course, all those beliefs we have about money. It's not good to have money, people often say, or it's embarrassing, or wealthy people, really bad people, and I don't want to become like that. It often happens to people. So it's important that we look at all of those things. And so I had this interview with this fascinating woman, Ellen Chu. She is a celebrity entrepreneur from Singapore. So she started her first business at the age of 21. And then the high evaluation of her company, 77th Street, it was valued at $300 million US. So here's Ellen Chu. Let's hear what she has to say about success.
Success comes with a lot of pain, a lot of patience, a lot of endurance, perseverance, and really doing it. Ultimately, you get some form of success, right? But we also celebrate every little success that we have. But I think what is most important is your focus on what you want to do, and that carries that spirit of breaking through to success. So along the way, you have a lot of obstacles. It's not smooth, but everyone celebrate the end point, but you forget the journey. The journey is the most exciting part of success. And yes, I didn't do well in academics in school, but I really love doing it. And there's a principle that I like about 10,000 hours principle by Malcolm Gladwell. I really love that principle.
3 things that Ellen shared in this video. So 1, she was not good at school. Anyone else can relate? Who was not very good at school? You guys in Asia, you are all amazing at school. Congratulations to you. I was okay. So at school. And I know that, Rebecca, I don't know how it was with the schooling when you went there. So Ellen is one of those examples. It doesn't really matter. It helps if you have the right education, if you went to the Ivy League school, but it's not must-have in order to be successful in the modern world. So second thing she shared, that success is a journey. It is not a destination. And it is important to remember this, because the other thing that I see when I talk, especially to highly successful people, they forget about it. And they focus just on that. And this is when they sacrifice health, relationships, and then overall sometimes their life, and we're going to talk about later today during the presentation. And the third thing that she spoke about, 10,000 hours principle, which says that if you want to master something, all that you have to do is spend 10,000 hours doing that. Simple, right? Do just that. So if you want to make money, 10,000 hours, focus on that, and you're going to be just fine. Now, I was listening to Manoj's presentation today earlier in the morning, and he really got me inspired about the chat GPT that he spoke about. So I registered and asked a question. I'm preparing a presentation inside the minds of successful, influential, and fulfilled people. What joke should I start with my presentation? This is what came up. I read it and realized it's not really a joke, it's a fact. And as Justin said, that AI is amazing, but it's not as amazing as humans. And even it can give you knowledge, but not the wisdom. And only it's up to us people then to understand how we want to use this knowledge. That's why we are humans. So I looked at this fact, and I thought to myself, this is an amazing illustration of 10,000 hours. How the inventor Thomas Edison was trying to invent the bulb, but he succeeded after failing for 10,000 hours. So AI is definitely not a threat to us. Surya Sparks is another celebrity entrepreneur. Also speaking about money, went from being $500,000 in debt to making 10 million in sales for herself, for her own personal bank account. She has been on more than 30 TV shows, 6-time published author, friend of Richard Branson. Let's hear from Surya. Your definition of success.
My definition of success is really like, I wrote this, co-authored this book with Jack Canfield. It's called The Soul of Success. Mm-hmm. And in that I wrote about how to achieve success without losing your soul. So it's about success is very subjective and means a lot to different people. But at the end of the day, it's that space where I come back home. And regardless how big my house is, how many cars I have, it's all not relevant. It is that me with myself and how I feel. And the smile that I have put in somebody else's face. And then that person who would write and say, thank you very much, you have impacted me because of the work that you do. And then, you know, like I've decided not to commit suicide because of you. And I think that is so powerful. So that ultimately is my meaning of success, is being able to, you know, get somebody the hope that they desire.
She speaks about hope and belonging and being part of something greater than yourself. And this is a very important definition of success. And the question is, especially when we talk about businesses, particularly post-pandemic businesses, because during the COVID, we all realized how important humans are. There is this collective realization that we need each other. And now when we have people coming into the workspace after the COVID, they want to belong even more. Earlier it was maybe only those who are in very early 20s, or maybe 30s, we call like millennials, who are by research prefer workplaces that have inclusion, that have belonging. Now when I talk to them, now I look at their parents feel the same. They also want to feel that belonging within the company. Blair Singer has traveled to more than 30 countries. He is a very well-known figure when it comes to teaching organizations about sales, about success. I don't know how well you know him, but I am sure you heard about Robert Kiyosaki. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? Very familiar face or figure, exactly. So Blair Singer is his close friend, and he's a Rich Dad advisor. He often shares the stage with Robert Kiyosaki. So let's hear from him.
What's success? I think it's based upon what your core values are. What are the things that are really most important to you? I know that I have some dear friends, and since we're interviewing, I won't mention their names, some very dear friends and my best friends in the world. And our core values, a couple of our core values are very different. Some are the same, like education and learning and growth and achievement. But when it comes to things like family and love, they're on two different mountains, two different mountaintops. And those have made the decisions in some of the things that I have done. And I will tell you that in the areas where I feel that I still have not achieved the success I'm looking for, it's when I have compromised those values.
Blair Singer talks about values, which is a really, really deep and important conversation. Yesterday we had an Asia Women Forum here, and there was one of the presenters who was sharing that when she got a job in the other country, that she would come every week at home to see her children and her husband, so the children remember how she looks, and she still has a husband to come back to. Because for her value is family as much as work. And which brings us then, what is our personal values? What is the value of our organization? Are we happy with the value of our organization? And also, is it clearly communicated to the employees all the way through the reporting line that everyone is very clear about it? And if not, what can we do about it? Which brings us then back to the question, what is success? And an even more important question, is money enough? Do you know these people? A few. Do you know what connects all of them? They are dead. Yes, thank you, sir. They are dead, and specifically they are dead by committing suicide. 3 out of them did it just last year, and 1 out of them just a month ago. So when they did that, they all had a lot of money, a lot of success. They were very good looking, they were famous, they were beloved by many, and yet something didn't go well in their lives, in their own perception, so they are no longer here. If we look at the statistics, more than 14% diseases in the world are related to mental health. More than 450 million people around the world are suffering. When I was preparing for this presentation, I did more research in Southeast Asia. Here are the number: Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore. Let's look at the Philippines. More than 3 million people are suffering from depression or depressive disorders. And interesting enough, it is more men than women who tend to commit suicide in the Philippines. When I went deeper in the statistics, I found out that 1 out of 10 young Filipinos is suffering from depression and has suicidal thoughts. And those are the people who are coming into the workplace. So they're influencing the work culture. They're creating the environment that needs attention. And especially after the pandemic, it became even more so. Which then tells us that perhaps we're missing something. So what is it that we're missing when we're talking about success? In my research, I call it mastery. And specifically, we talk about mastery of the mind. This is the second M, mastery of the mind. And there are different, really interesting people around the world who specialize in that. Let's look at David Verdessi, who is quite a character. David traveled the same more than 30, 40 countries, studying with different people, specifically the abilities of superhumans. So he was stretching what the mind is capable of. Let's watch this video.
David's unique because he has studied for over 20 years across 60 different cultures and religions, and I mean, it's phenomenal, the work he's done. I don't think there's many people possibly ever to have walked this planet to have the diversity of knowledge on this subject matter that David Verdessi has. He just happens to also be really, really good on camera.
David and I first met in Thailand some 25 years ago. He was already proficient in all the styles of Kung Fu and Iron Shirt. He would do demonstrations for us, and this was my first inkling into what the human body was capable of. We would punch him, we would hit him with bats, truly incredible to me at a young age. And at one time, David just, poof, disappeared. At the end of your life, I'd like you to look back and say that you truly lived, that you dipped in to that amazing potential that you have within yourself. This path that we're on, it's a revolution to the stress, the grind, the retirement where we lose a sense of purpose for life. The ancient masters had a saying, walk in all ways contrary to the normal life of the world. What are you capable of?
What are you capable of? This is a $100 million question. And we probably don't even know yet. That's where the AI is coming, and as humans we are afraid. What if AI becomes more intelligent than us? And yet if we look at the studies of the mind, there is no way technology can ever become more sophisticated than humans. And yet, right now we see that technology evolves faster than we evolve as humans. That's why now more than ever it is so important we invest all this time in understanding the capacities of our mind. And there are a few people who really studied, like scientists. Before we go to the scientists, I want to show you this. Let's look at the screen. This is a really interesting exercise about the nature of the mind. I would like to ask you to stand up if you think that 2 orange circles are exactly the same size. So stand up if you think that the orange circles are the same size. It's okay, it's okay. They are the same size. I'm giving you tips. When you stand up, stand up, stand up. There's a second slide to that. Now look at the second slide. And if you think that the circle on your right is bigger, please sit down. If the circle on your right is bigger than the circle on your left, then please sit down. Let me do it again. You see 1, 2. 1, 2. You see the difference? It's called optical illusion. So the circles are exactly the same. So it's identical circles. What changes is what is around them, right? And this brings us to the point where what surrounds us changes what is here. Our mind works differently. Maybe you noticed when you're around people who bring the best in you, you feel like amazing, phenomenal, you know, you're at your best. And sometimes you're around people who you feel drag you down, you become small. So it's all in the mind. So how do we learn to be more consistent? How do we learn to be in our power, regardless who is around us? That's the scientist I wanted to talk to you about, Frederick Travis. He based in the United States. He has more than 30 years of research about brain function, specifically for the high-performing athletes and CEOs. Let's hear from Dr. Frederick.
We should see it in highly successful people. Highly successful people, they're working under stress, they're coming up with creative ideas, they're able to have a vision and continue with that vision. And so we looked at athletes, Olympic athletes, national games, world games, compared them to athletes who did not consistently perform at that level. And we found higher levels of brain integration. So this integrated style of functioning that we saw growing through meditation practice in these world-class athletes. Now, these people were not meditating. It's not a meditation study, it's success in the world study. And then we looked at managers. Top-level managers were those who have been CEOs for 18 years or longer. Their company had grown during that time. Again, higher levels of brain integration compared to the middle-level managers. And again, brain integration is that integration of deep inner silence is there. That brainwave of deep inner silence is there, along with the ability to focus and to act. And we asked these managers, okay, what's your secret? None of them said, I'm smarter or I worked harder. What they all said is they could rely on their inner intuition. They could rely on those hunches. I think this is a good practical description of what does it mean to have more access to your inner being, that fountainhead of creativity, intelligence within you.
Dr. Frederick Travis was speaking about higher brain integration. How do we achieve it through meditation, or the other word, mindfulness, and we're going to talk about it in a moment, and how it all leads to creativity and higher performance. If you want to listen to the full interviews, whatever we had, you can just take a picture, scan the code, find on social media, and they're all freely available. 5 steps for mental and emotional well-being. So one is all about people. When we talk about connecting with humans, this is exactly what happened with us during COVID, right? We were disconnected, which led to a lot of difficulties. Anyone felt unwell without people during COVID? Please raise your hand. Anyone who was unwell? Okay, so people who are raising hands, I'm guessing you are probably more extroverted. And those people who are not raising hands, you're probably a little bit more introverted, and you still miss people, but you're shy to raise a hand. Right? Exactly. I know, I have been living in Singapore since 2008, so I know Asia very well. And I know that in Asia, most of people are introverted by nature. And the biggest difference, as they say, between an extrovert and an introvert, that an extrovert energizes while being with others, while introvert energizes while being alone. So we can see how it could create some conflicts within the team at work, where you prepare for something, or you want to go for the meeting, or maybe your investors are coming out of town, let's say from the United States, or maybe Europe, they're coming, you have to take them out for dinner. I often hear for Asian executives, it's exhausting. All this eating and drinking and partying, and you want to rest, but you can't say no to them, they are investors, so what do? That's why we talk about mindfulness. And what do? You create more energy. You learn how, like this, activate more energy within your body. And how do we do that? By being physically active. We just had a conversation today with Justin earlier. Everyone works, he's amazing, right? By the way, our MC today. And you haven't even heard him as speaker yet, so just wait for that. And he tells that before he goes on stages, he exercises. So now we have to do sound check by 7:50 a.m. each morning. I don't know what time he gets up, but apparently he exercises. I just go the steps up and down before I come here. Movement is very, very important. And Scientists say that as adults we should on average sleep about 8 hours a day for health, and we should move at least 3 hours a day. Now probably no one does it, I assume. At least I don't. I'm still working out to this goal. So how can we do this? Very simple. Stand up. Yes, I know. Stand up, exactly. So one way, we just do more standing and less sitting. And this is something we can incorporate into our culture. There are standing desks, there are sitting desks, right? So we know this. I tried, for me it was a bit too hard to focus, but what definitely works, we can do standing lunches. And I know that we're going to go into lunch later today, so I encourage you to stand and talk and eat your food, right? So it's also better for digestion. So we can do standing meetings. First of all, they become much more efficient, because people don't like to stand. So if you want your people to, be on point, then make standing meetings. Then it's going to be 5-minute meeting, and they're going to come prepared. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're done. So that's a good way to engage your people in the company. And raise your hand now if just by standing 2 seconds you feel more energized. Do you feel more energized? Yeah, exactly, right? Do you see how it works? It's simple, easy to do. That counts as physical exercise for those 3 hours. So if you want, you can sit down, it's okay. I'm going to stand on your behalf for now. Now, learning new skills. That's why you're here. So thank you for showing up for yourself. When we learn new skills, we activate a different part of our brain, which is responsible for health and stability and creativity. Giving to others. That's why we're here. From Together We Can Change the World, because we give to you. We also give to kids and courses. So this is we're helping others while helping ourselves. That's part of the service. Paying attention to the present moment. A very scary word, mindfulness. People are usually afraid of that. So I'm going to explain it to you in a very safe way, how to practice mindfulness. Can we do this? Yes, you're great. People usually say, I'm not sure about mindfulness. So you're good, guys. We're going to do this very simply with 3 breaths. Because in my experience, when it's too complicated, my husband doesn't do it. So I test everything with him. If he does it, everybody's going to do that. So it's tested. So it's going to be very simple. 3 breaths. You don't even have to close your eyes. You can keep it open. You can look there, and let's just together, deep inhalation. Inhale and exhale. And one more time, a deep inhalation. Inhale and exhale. And once again, just deep inhaling and exhaling. That's it. Raise your hand if you feel changes in your body. If you feel changes in your energy, changes in your mind, changes in the energy of the room, it feels more settled, right? We are more relaxed. 3 breaths. If you do just that twice a day, morning and evening, it's going to significantly change your life. I promise you. If not, call me. And I take full responsibility for my words. But in my experience, it does. Meaning would be the 3rd M when we talk about success. And now meaning means different things for different people. For us, we are as speakers here, part of the company called Together We Can Change the World. So we show up in different countries, and I love how yesterday they were speaking about Speakers Without Borders. That should be our tagline, Jana, yes. And so we go to different countries and we speak, because that's what we do as speakers. At the same time, we raise money so we can help courses, NGOs, and those companies that work with children, with women, to create education and opportunities. This is our meaning. Now, for you, you need to find what is your meaning. First of all, personally, and then what is the meaning within the company? Again, if we look around studies that are done, more and more people, especially younger leaders, those millennials who are in their 20s and 30s, they want to work in an organization that is meaningful. They want to be engaged in activities which are meaningful. No, they don't want just money because we suffered for them, so now they have food on the table, now they want meaning. And we have to provide it within the company, otherwise you can't retain it. Otherwise, they're going to go for another business that provides it. So it's important we find out what it is. Let's recall that. 3 M's of success. Let's see if you can remember that. So what is the first one? Good. What is the second one? Good. And the third one? You guys are doing amazing. Round of applause to yourself. And stand up. Stand up. Yes. So we're going to go into the power pose. This is one of the variations of the power pose. So we have Wonder Woman and the Superman. My only question when I look at this, why is he dressed and she is half naked? But that's a question for the narrative of the society. So the point here is that when we do go into the power pose, and we will hear later today from Justin, that maybe he's going to use that if we stand about in this pose for about 2 minutes, it significantly changes our physiology, which changes our mind. So I know it's boring to just stand, so I'm going to help you. Is it okay if I help you to stand for 2 minutes? So you just stand, and I'm going to tell you what to do with your mind. So it doesn't go, where is lunch, where is it finishing, I'm tired. So you stand, and I will tell you, let's think about either money, or mastery, or meaning, what we talk today. Just choose one area that resonates, one area where you feel you would like to work on. And what is it? Like which area in your mind you feel you would like to quantumly, you would like to go higher. And just imagine what would that be and how different your life would be. And maybe DJ, we could just put a bit of music in the background right now. And just listen to the music.